welcome in to the victorious The Route Husker Football Podcast Edition here. And nice victorious weekend for those wonderful Nebraska Cornhuskers led by Tommy Armstrong, Mike Riley, and Terrell Newby. Finally looks actually good. Brent Bonfleur was up in the broadcast booth again on KRNU.
Yes, sir. It's chilly up there.
Oh, it was nice, though. You were inside. You weren't...
Yeah, we had the window open, and the AC was on, so it was doubly cold.
Yeah, well, you weren't up in the usual press box that I was in all those 4 years that I was at KRNU. Somebody else was there, too. Because he's always there. He's at every single game because he films those games, and he's kind of good at what he does, and that's why we bring him in, and his name's Devon Kleich.
Wow, I feel good.
It's time now to bring in the Nebraska insider of all Nebraska insiders, the insider known as Devon Kleich.
Oh, I'm busting a move 24/7, guys. Pop, lock, and dropping. I don't need any light in my life.
Oh, yeah.
You can never tell when Devin is actually talking.
I know.
And when Ryan's just playing sound bites.
Oh, you just love it. I love it. I think it's great. All right, Devin. We're in good spirits this week.
I hope so.
I hope so, too. I mean, Nebraska won. They didn't lose
48-9, that's garbage.
Yeah, well.
We allowed a touchdown.
Yeah.
What?
But not the extra point attempt.
Since they didn't get that extra point, I always tell people that we allowed 4 safeties and a field goal. That's what or 3 safeties and a field goal, excuse me.
Oh, that's good.
So.
Oh, well, let's start with Nebraska's very solid offensive performance last night, and defense, too. Again, this is South Alabama, so, not much threat there at all. Terrell Newby highlighting the running game with 28 carries for 198 yards. I guarantee you if Amir Abdullah had 28 carries, it probably would have been 300, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
That's neither here nor there.
Sure about. You better double check that, my friend.
I don't know.
You better double check that, my friend.
Yeah, that's right.
Anyways, overall rushing yards 258. That's more like it. I like that number. Passing yards 303 for a wonderfully combined total of 561 total offensive yards. Tommy Armstrong 21 of 30. 270 yards in the air, 2 touchdowns. Riker Fife got in the game. He threw a touchdown, 33 yards, 5 of 7 and a pick. Receiving, Brandon Riley, Lane Hovey, Alonzo Moore, all 5 receptions, 71, 68, 39 respectively. Jordan Westerkamp, 3 catches, 31 yards. Wonderful receiving numbers. Tariq Allen, Terrell Newby, everybody was 20 yards or more in their receiving. Stanley Morgan Jr., look at this kid coming out of nowhere. 3 receptions, 29 yards, not too bad for him as well. Overall, Tyson Brockmeyer had to punt only 3 times, 104 yards, 34.7 on average. What a great game, Devin.
Yeah, it was really good. I've been telling people this. If I had to take 3 things away from that game, one would be, granted, we were playing South Alabama, not a top-tier school, but the offensive line played extremely well.
Yeah.
They opened up holes for Newby to run. They, gave Tommy time in the pocket. I don't even know if they allowed a sack in the game. So they looked really good. Tommy...
No sacks.
Tommy had a couple of bad, reads, overthrew some players. He still has a problem. I think he gets a little antsy when the receiver's wide open, and he tends to overthrow him. And that ended up happening to Sutton in week 1, and he got hurt. But him getting hurt wasn't Tommy's fault. But the second thing is, Westerkamp didn't get targeted as much in this game. And to see all the other wide receivers step up was a big, big deal for Nebraska. That means that depth is going to work in Nebraska's favor, especially getting into Big Ten play as they become more of a consistent and cohesive unit. And then the third thing was, and I said this probably right towards the end of the third quarter, I go, knock on wood, everyone, but Nebraska has 0 turnovers.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, Riker throws an interception. But but that is the biggest thing, I think, for Nebraska is to win the turnover battle. I think they had forced 3 turnovers, 2 fumbles, and an interception. And they had 1 interception by Riker that they gave up. But other than that, they took care of the football. They didn't put the ball on the ground. And that's been a problem for Nebraska probably the last 5-6 years. They just cannot get over the turnover bug, and they looked really good this week. And so it's a good thing to see out of this Nebraska team, and it looks like good things going forward for Nebraska.
Oh, yeah. Brent, what'd you think offensively?
Oh, boy. I mean, what else can you say? The biggest question for me was, okay, is Tommy Armstrong going to come back and have another good game passing? Are they going to run? I mean, they even try to get him to run. I think they had 2. I think he ran twice.
I think he ran a couple times, but they were avoiding him running in this game because it wasn't necessary.
2 carries, 4 yards.
They want him...
Right.
And I think the problem, the way they're going about this is a little bit strange. They don't want Tommy to run the ball as much.
Right.
Because they want him to be in the pocket throwing the football. They don't want him to risk getting injured, which, as we saw last week, he was in a boot after the game.
And Mike Riley said that in February, that this Tommy Armstrong running around all over the place stuff is going to end.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened. But we thought last week we'd see more of a running game, and that didn't happen for Nebraska. Well, this week easily did. This week was, to me, a far better balance, a more balanced attack in running the football and passing. That's what I think Nebraska's numbers should look like when it comes to their offense. You have about 250 yards on the ground. You have about 300 or more in the air. That's good to me.
Yeah, and that's what I've been talking about. Nebraska needs to be consistent. And if they can keep that going, the passing attacks looked pretty good the first 2 weeks.
Yes.
Now the question is, can Daniel Langsdorff keep calm plays, mixing up the run, the pass?
Yes.
And I thought this week they did that. Granted, they're playing South Alabama, but you can't take away that Nebraska manhandled a Division I opponent. They're still a really good team. They've been a team for, I think, 6 or 7 years.
7 years, yeah.
And they already made it to a bowl game last year. So, I mean, that program is getting better and better every year. And so you like to see those things. Nebraska be consistent against them. And the defense, I thought, played extremely well. Pass defense was still a little iffy, especially Daniel Davey. He really
he got
disappointed
burned.
me. He got burned a couple times. And that's why where most of their pass yards came from was on Daniel Davey. They were targeting him because he just struggled last night for some reason.
313 passing yards given up Nebraska. However, 19 rushing yards.
I know.
Yeah.
Very impressive.
I saw
And they
that.
didn't even try to run after like the first quarter.
Yeah,
He was
there was
just
no
going
point.
nowhere.
Yeah, and I saw it. That was the lowest rush total in a game since Nebraska allowed negative 17 rushing yards to Michigan at Michigan in 2013. So
nice. Yeah, I was going to say with the defense, a nice little welcome back party for Michael Rose-Ivy. 10 tackles, 2 solo,
good.
8 assists. He had a tackle for a loss. Jonathan Rose, too. 8 tackles as well.
Yeah,
solid
both did
game
well.
for him. Nebraska forced 2 fumbles. Chris Weber forced 1. Jordan Ober, a guy who I've never heard of.
No.
He forced 1, too.
because he's a freshman long snapper.
Yeah, exactly. He recovered that. Nate Gary had another interception. 8 tackles for loss, 34 yards in that loss category. Mick Stoltenberg had a sack along with Kevin Maurice.
And then you had Freedom, who had 2 tackles for a loss.
Freedom Akinmolendu.
And I think he did.
That's your
I don't know.
basketball buddy.
He is my basketball buddy.
Yeah.
But I don't think they recovered, or I don't think they marked it on there right, but I think Freedom recovered that fumble back on the goal line when Kevin Maurice sacked him.
Okay.
And because I'm pretty sure Freedom came up with that. And so out of anyone this week, he impressed me the most. He stepped up when Nebraska needed him most because that DM position is not that deep at all. Even before Jack Gingowish got hurt, he stepped up. He really impressed me because I didn't think he was going to start this year, or he was going to play that much this year.
Yeah, I didn't think so either.
But he's really impressed Hank Hughes apparently, and
He just keeps going.
He just keeps going. Yeah, he's
getting after it.
He's got a motor that just doesn't stop. And that backup defensive line, when they got in the game, they were super impressive too.
Yeah,
like
a whole defensive line.
It was just unreal how good that defensive unit is. And I think through the first 2 games, one of the questions was how good or how bad is that linebacker core going to play? They've played relatively well.
Without the 2 primary guys in there, Banderas and Michael Rose-Ivy.
Rose
Last week it was Banderas. This week it was Michael Rose-Ivy. Next week, I don't know what the status of Josh Banderas' situation with his groin issue.
Yeah, I have no clue.
But when he comes back, that probably is going to be an underrated type of dangerous linebacking core with those 2 in there, Banderas and Rose-Ivy.
And
that could be a problem.
And what we're not talking about, though, is the guys that have stepped in and played those positions. You have Dedrick Young. I don't know if he even played that much either this week.
No, he didn't play.
But he was out.
He was out.
He was
out. Late scratch.
Then you had Luke Gifford, who's an extremely undersized linebacker, but he plays that position well. He can move. He's got speed, and if you blitz him off the edge, he can get some pressure on the quarterback. And then you also have Marcus Newby, who didn't play a ton in the first game, and he comes in and he's playing quite a bit, and he looked good. So I think Nebraska's sitting in a good spot. They're going to have to develop more, especially when Big Ten play comes around, because they're not going to be playing quote unquote cupcakes. But I mean, it's good experience for them to get out there and beat these teams and get a confidence going to really get ready for when the season starts mattering.
And we know who the primary the starters at linebacker are going to be. The fact that the guys behind them are gaining experience, that adds to Nebraska's depth at linebacker, and that builds that linebacking position up more. So if, God forbid, somebody like Michael Rose-Ivy gets hurt, or Josh Banderas gets hurt, you bring in a Marcus Newby, you bring in a Dedrick Young, you bring in a Luke Gifford, guys that have had playing time earlier in the season that now feel a little bit more comfortable when their name is called upon in situations that you never know. They could use 3 linebackers, they could use 2, somebody might need a breather, they bring him in, backup does the job well, or somebody gets hurt. It's building that experience level, bringing that depth, I guess widening that depth rather, and making sure that you're solid with the guys that you have at the linebacking position, because it's still, in terms of the people who are there, it's not that big, but the experience level can be built up, and that's exactly what's happening on defense.
Well,
Brent.
I think the best thing as far as this linebacking group is that no one's really talking about them much, which is a good thing for them, because
it is.
Last year everyone was talking about them, and it was not very positive. Most
let them
weeks,
fly under the radar the entire season.
Yeah.
Let them do it, because that's the best thing for them. Don't let the media get in your head. Don't let any of those outside things that don't matter get in your head, because if you're playing your brand of football, playing the brand that Trent Beret has been coaching you up to do the entire season, you're going to be fine.
Yeah. And they don't need to be amazing.
No.
The defensive line is there to be amazing. The linebackers are there. They need to be solid.
Consistent is what they need to be.
Consistent would be good, yeah. And then the secondary, I mean, for the most part, it's okay, but we got some...
Needs some work.
Especially
Still
Daniel David that last game. That was scary. Because
I think the safety position's okay. It's our corner issue.
Yeah, right. I agree.
And I think...
Goodness, Nate Gary.
Yeah, he's good.
Can we talk about Nate Gary?
3 solo tackles.
2 games,
nothing else.
2 picks as well. And what was even more impressive than that to me, there was this one play, and South Alabama was like in the shadow of their own end zone. They were running like some wide sweep out, or maybe it's one of those quick dart passes. And Nate Gary just sniffed it out right away and ran up there. He didn't make the tackle that play, but he had 2 guys coming, and he took them both out of the play, let one of his guys actually take down the ball carrier, and he about pushed through both of them and got to the ball carrier. He is an absolute monster out there.
And that's what another thing is with Mark Banker making those calls on defense. He had a nice mix of blitzing, because I didn't think we got after BYU that much last week.
Yeah.
But now that he's got a game under his belt, he looked really comfortable in what he should call. He knows what these players are going to do, and it really benefited Nebraska to get those mix of, passing, get in the nickel defense, stay in the base defense, and I think Nebraska is going to be set in a good situation with Mark Banker running that defense.
And now with the first win finally out of the way, now Devon Kleich can start making his travel plans.
Boom!
To head down to the nice, hot, steamy, beautiful Miami, Florida.
Right along the beach.
Get his sandals ready to stick his feet in the sand, toes in the water.
I need to get some new sandals, honestly.
Oh, it's going to be a good old time for Mr. Devon Kleich. I know
will be.
You're going to have a
I'm hoping.
I mean, the sex appeal, I think, would just be off the chain.
I'm hoping we leave early in the morning so we can get down there, get our stuff done, and then enjoy that night in Miami. Yes.
Cocaine and
No,
even cigars.
You're not the first person to say that to me. Just he goes, you probably got a guy down there already to deliver the cocaine.
Oh, I know what you mean by enjoy Miami.
Oh, no, not
That's
that.
the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me.
Not that.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, man. Devon's going to come back to my place, and we're going to have a problem. But no, Nebraska going down to Miami to take on the Hurricanes this weekend, taking on a depleted Miami football team that lost a lot of pretty much almost all of their offensive line. Their star running back, Duke Johnson, couple of wide receivers that were Brad Kaya's weapons the last time Nebraska and Miami faced off, which was last year at Memorial Stadium. And now, Brad Kaya, who actually has done pretty well, a 62.7% completion percentage.
With that offensive line?
Yeah, not too bad. 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, 37 of 59, 460 yards in the air.
And they haven't really been tested by a strong defense.
Yeah.
And I think that's where Nebraska comes into play here. They have Nebraska's pass defense has not been that good in the first 2 weeks, but I don't think that out of the 3 teams that are going to be played in the first 3 weeks, this is probably the worst pass offense, to be honest.
Well, I wouldn't say that. I think as far as the weapons at the receiver spots go, because
what I'm saying is because South Alabama, they have some good wide receivers.
Yeah.
Those guys could catch the ball.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's
not Miami.
He was under pressure the entire time, so it's hard to get him the ball.
Yeah.
But when he did get him the ball,
it
worked.
Big plays, yeah. No,
but Miami, their offensive line, like you said,
brand new,
extremely depleted. I think the running back situation for them is okay. They have
who do they even have?
Joseph Yearby. They're using dual threat running backs.
Yeah, and
Joseph Yearby and Mark Walton. Both of them have 24 carries on the season. Yearby has 186 yards. Walton has 127.
Yeah, which is a pretty good number for first 2 games when you're splitting time between those 2 running backs.
And even a third running back, Treon Gray, 16 carries, 118 yards.
That's
so
pretty good 3 running backs there.
Yeah. For 2 games, they've got, over 400 yards?
421 yards total so far in the season, 70
not bad.
carries. Averaging 6 yards. Now, granted, that's against
Florida Atlantic and someone I can't remember.
Bethune-Cookman.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was their first game, 45-0 win. Florida Atlantic University, 44-20 win.
And the way I look at this, Nebraska's rush defense has played extremely well through the first 2 games.
Yes.
If they step up and play as well as they played in the first 2 weeks, you're going to force Brad Kaya to throw the ball, which he can. It's whether your receivers are going to catch that football.
Yeah.
Right.
And if you can prevent Nebraska's corners from stopping your wide receivers from catching the ball, as it looks right now, probably not. You could probably throw all over them, to be honest.
Right.
But this is not going to be the team that they played in the first 2 weeks. This is a way different team, tougher team, and Nebraska's going down in a hostile environment that.
First road game test under Mike Riley.
And it should be a good game. It should be an extremely good game, and it's going to be close.
3 of the 5 wide receivers, as far as the receiving stats go, who have receptions are wide receivers. 2 of them are running backs. So 2 running backs have receiving stats. The other 3 are true wide receivers. Rashawn Scott, the leading receiver, 9 receptions, 122 yards. Herb Waters, 7 receptions, 112 yards. Then running back Joseph Yearby, 5 receptions, 105 yards. Dual threat running back, like Amir Abdullah. He can run and he can catch. Malcolm Lewis, 5 receptions, 47. So there's a drastic drop-off after those 3 guys. 2 receivers and a running back. You have to figure if that's the case,
it's a lack of depth at that position is what it is.
Yeah, and it shouldn't be too challenging for Nebraska to stick with those 3. And heck, even maybe Malcolm Lewis and running back Mark Walton, who has 4 receptions for 20 yards. It shouldn't be that difficult to stick with those 4 or 5 guys and shut them down, because if you do, granted, it's not that easy, but then you're really putting Brad Kaya in a very difficult position.
Yeah.
And Nebraska's defense already did that last year. However, the home field advantage card, which I am I am a strong believer in.
Oh, I believe it. It helps.
It's going to be big, and it's going to be a little bit different this time for Nebraska's defense against Brad Kaya, because they won't have 91,000 fans going absolutely ballistic against Miami. It will be, I don't know, they're playing at Dolphin Stadium, right?
I believe so.
So I would think that probably, I don't know how big that place is.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm sure it can't be too huge.
Yeah, it can't. So I would think maybe 45,000, 50,000. Is that stretch?
I mean, well, we played in a bowl game last year at Charger Stadium, and it was 75-ish.
Yeah,
I think
it's
so.
bigger than that.
So it's probably right around 70.
Let me check.
But the thing I really am looking forward to is Nebraska fans have always complained about not winning the big games.
Mm-hmm.
If Mike Riley wins this in his first season on the road, that is a huge, huge thing for Nebraska fans.
Right.
65,326.
Yeah, I'd say probably right around 70.
So, I don't think that will be filled up either.
No.
So it will probably be about 45,000, 50,000
I think there'll be quite a few Nebraska fans there, honestly.
I would hope
Probably,
so.
yeah.
I think they'd travel well.
So, yeah.
So,
Go ahead. Miami.
It will be a big, big win for Mike Riley if he can continue to win at Nebraska, but win the big games, because this is a big game.
Is it?
It's a road game. It's a big game.
That's yeah.
Nebraska struggles on the road, and this is a big game for Nebraska.
Yeah. This is probably the biggest road game Nebraska has. I'm thinking, when you say big games, I'm thinking about big games in general, like, Wisconsin or Michigan State. That's the big game.
Playing in conference is a whole nother thing, too. But playing non-conference,
You're
Nebraska
just talking
already has
about a big road game.
Yes.
Nebraska this is it.
Nebraska has one loss already. They cannot afford to lose another game.
Mm-hmm. No,
I don't care if it's a non-conference game or conference game. They cannot afford to lose it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why it's a big game for Nebraska, a big game for Mike Riley.
Exactly, yeah. So, Nebraska, Miami, the kickoff is at 2 o'clock? 2:30. 2:30 Central.
Is that being broadcast?
That is going to be
It's
on
ABC.
ABC.
Yep.
Yes.
It's on
ABC,
okay.
Husker Sports Network. Brent Bonfleur's already packing up and getting his tickets ready for his third. When are you guys leaving?
Well, yeah, I'm going. I don't know about the rest of them. I got family down in Florida. You remember?
Oh, you're not. Oh, you're not doing no care and you broadcast. Oh, you guys are off this week.
Yeah.
Oh, well, slacking. That's okay.
I guess we could go up to Memorial Stadium and try to call the game on the, based on what we're watching on the TV.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, I mean, if they'll let you in. I don't know if they'll let you in or not.
Probably not.
Yeah. So, but anyways, so no KRNU broadcast. Are you really going down to Miami?
No.
No, I didn't think so.
No, I'm going to be doing homework.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Who wants to do homework? Come on, honestly.
Well, Devin's on this like speedboat out in the middle of the ocean, Atlantic, catching sword or a yacht.
Yeah, there we go.
Catching swordfish with all these like girls in bikinis and like 10 pounds of cocaine on the deck.
Gotta be a player.
Yeah,
Players
right.
gotta play.
Oh,
And, like,
goodness.
you know, Tommy Armstrong.
It's pretty obvious, isn't it?
Devin, can I come on your boat, please? And be like, I don't know, Tommy. You might kill the vibe.
You better double check that, my friend.
I don't think you're cool enough.
Tommy,
to
if
be
you
on
would have
my
went
boat.
20, if you would have had 22 completions instead of 21, I would have let you.
Yeah. Maybe 4 touchdowns.
Four
huh?
touchdowns. Yeah.
See what you can do tonight. Yeah.
You kidding me?
We'll talk.
Goodness. And then there's some of us who don't have homework anymore.
Yeah, but you'll be working.
No, actually, I won't.
no, you
I
have Saturdays
Saturdays
off.
off.
Oh, well,
and
good.
I have Sundays off, too. That's why we're sitting in here right now.
Technically, not all of Sunday off. You have to go in at 11:30, don't you?
No, I get up at 11:30 p.m.
Oh, so
So-
you don't go until Monday morning.
Till about
technically.
12:30 a.m. Monday
Oh,
morning.
wow.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you
So-
got 30 minutes
I know.
extra off.
I know.
Good for
it's,
you.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful not having homework. All right.
I know.
That's going to do it for us again. No KRNU broadcast this week since Nebraska's
Next
down
week,
in
though,
Miami.
Southern Miss.
Devin will, from what he tells me, he will be back in time on Sunday to come in and have a fresh perspective of Nebraska, either their win or loss to Miami, and we'll that's what our next Husker football podcast will be, recapping Nebraska and Miami. Be sure to watch or listen to this Saturday's game again at 2:30 p.m. Central Time on the various media networks. And Devin, enjoy Miami, my friend.
Oh, I will.
I know you're going to just be doing all sorts of fun stuff down there.
You make it sound bad when you say fun stuff.
Hey, it's Miami,
all sorts
dude.
of fun stuff.
It's Miami. You never know what can happen.
I have a cousin that lives down there. She models down there, and she lives right on Miami Beach. So
Nice.
But she's not here right now.
What's her name?
Can't tell you that. It's confidential. But she lives in she's in I believe Beijing or Bangkok right now.
Wow.
Yep, that's where she's at.
She's doing very well.
She's been there since I don't know, like July. So
Nice. All right. Well, with that,
Yeah,
that's going to do it.
We'll end it with
We're gonna end
Devin's
it with that.
model South Beach. What is she? Or
cousin.
Cousin.
She's from Lincoln. So
how would you feel about us being related, Devin?
wow, Brent Bonfluer. You know, it's not.
He
you're not-
is single.
You're not the first person that said that to me.
I'm
so.
sure. Well, yeah. There are other guys who want to date your model cousin. who lives
She's
in-
taken right now. So.
Oh, is she? I'll fight it.
But
Devin, look out.
Honestly,
Honestly, floor coming in.
honestly, you probably could. So you could beat him up.
man. Oh, gosh. All right.
right.
That's going to do it
like
for
my
this.
Ravens are going to beat up your Broncos. All right. Let's end the show. Let's end the show.
Stop that. Stop that.
That's for another separate podcast
Shots
if you
fired.
want to go
Yeah.
there. Oh, goodness.
Brent will not be on the show next week.
Hey, no,
Taking over for him permanently.
honestly, the Broncos they kicked the Ravens' butt in the regular season, but it's in the playoffs where the Ravens are like, all right, we let you guys enjoy that first game, and now we'll win the one,
Playoffs?
one that matters.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if they won today.
We'll see what happens,
We'll
gentlemen.
see what happens.
Devin, thanks as always, buddy.
I'm never coming on the show again.
It's a podcast. It's not a show.
It's a show.
It's a podcast.
It's a podcast show.
Yeah, okay. I'll take that.
What is this,
I'll be
like
up.
Seinfeld or something?
I don't know.
Is it a podcast? No, it's a show. It's a podcast show.
That's right.
Humanity. My Jerry Seinfeld voice is not very good.
That's Brent
Sorry.
Bonfloor, Devin
All right, I'll shut up.
Kleich.
Turn off
Enjoy
my mic.
Miami. We'll see you next week, Devin.
Yep.
We'll see you next week, Devin.
Yep.
We'll see you next week, Devin.
Yep.
We'll see you next week, Devin.